What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today I'm finally able to bring you an update to Swordsoul. But now it is Swordsoul that involves Branded, which is really lore specific, which is absolutely amazing because it's about time that these two are able to come together. And that is of course going to be thanks to the Fallen of the White, which I'll explain as we go through it. At the end of the video, I'll also show you a very basic one card combo of how this deck bridges together and how it goes from Branded to Swordsoul and vice versa really nicely. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you won't miss out on any more upcoming content. I'm going to dive headfirst into the profile, show you what we've got, and explain why we've got it. So just to confirm as well, I always get asked where I get my Swordsoul tokens from. So these were bought ages ago now, since when Swordsoul first came out, but you should be able to pick these up online very easily. Custom made, unfortunately not official, but something that for a bit of fun if you do like to play Swordsoul. So with the Swordsoul monsters, and what I really like about this build is it still maintains the essence of Swordsouls. There are builds out there that lean more into Branded and it becomes like Branded Swordsoul, whereas I quite like the dominant version of the deck to take the title, and that is going to be the Swordsoul cards being free Moyi. Now the one big difference between this and like the 10-year version is that you don't have as many worms to reveal, but you do have some additional Swordsoul cards, or card to be exact. So taking you through the Swordsoul monsters, for those of you that are new to them, Moyi is if in normal or special you reveal a Swordsoul card or a worm monster from the hand, you get to special on a Swordsoul token, which becomes a level 4 tuner. You are locked into synchros while that token is on the field. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you get to draw one card. Then we've got 2 of the long one. Now the reason you're going to be playing 2 long one and not 3 like the good old fashioned days, I mean maybe if Baron the Floor was legal, you'd probably be maxing this out on 3 to give you that Omni-Negate protection. But the idea behind this one is that the long one, you do lock yourselves out of being able to access level 8 or higher than level 8 synchro monsters or fusion monsters when you do use the Fallen of the White. Now the idea is you want to start off with the long one, you go into your 10. The 10 you're going to want to go into is going to be, more times than not, your Sinister Sovereign. But you can, of course, work your way into the Cheng-Ying if you wanted to. But the idea is that that's the 10 you're going to go for. I think that's fine. I don't think there are any crazy level 10 synchros out there right now that are worthwhile running in this particular build. And we do already get a brand new synchro monster that technically isn't a Swordsoul. Like, it doesn't really enhance the Swordsoul strategy. But fingers crossed in the future, we do get more Swordsoul monsters. Then one that is probably going to be more important, and you will see this in the combo, is going to be your Tire. It's just so good to be able to banish the Swordsoul from the grave, or a... Oh, I didn't even mention what long one does. So long one is you discard a Swordsoul or a 10-year, and then special summon this card, and then again you spawn a 10-year token, Swordsoul token, and then when it's used as synchro material, you burn your opponent for 1200 damage. The Tire has the ability that you banish a Swordsoul or a 10-year, I say 10-year, a Swordsoul or a worm monster from the graveyard. So apologies if I said 10-year prior to that, I meant Swordsoul. I meant worm. So used to be playing this with 10 years, it's crazy. So you banish one from the graveyard, then spawn the token. Again, the corresponding token is entirely up to you. That becomes the tuner, and then that leads you into your synchro level 8s. And if this card is sent from the field to the grave as synchro material, you send a worm monster from the deck or a Swordsoul from deck to grave. Then it's technically your bridge between the Swordsouls and the Branded is going to be your incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous. Specifically because this gives you the ability to tribute off and special summon out a Swordsoul monster or a monster that lists Fallen of Albaz. So you can get direct, easy access if you need to. And you will be able to go through 2 of these in the combo as well to help you get through them. Because once you've gone through it once, it's not that effective later on in the game state. You should be able to already present and set everything up in the grave, because this can also add itself back from the grave to the hand as long as a fusion monster is sent to the graveyard, which is very easily done. Then the card that we are now finally playing is the 1 Golden Swordsoul. So this one is when a monster declares an attack, you get to special on it from the hand, and if you control you negate the attack, and if you control a fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz, you can also destroy that monster that declared the attack. But more importantly is if this card is banished, if a card is banished face up, except during a damage step, banish this card from the field or grave and special on a light spellcaster from the hand or grave whose attack equals its own defense. Now, the card you're going to be going for in this one is going to be the Incredible Ecclesia. You can then use the Incredible Ecclesia's effect to tribute off and go into Fallen of Albaz. You can also play Iris Swordsoul if you wanted to as well. That is another option. I've chosen not to play that in this build, but that is completely down to personal preference. And the way that you can very easily banish cards face up and then get everything you need to is through the Incredible Ecclesia, the Darkest Dragon, which will be in the extra deck. Continue on with the Swordsoul cards. We've got 3 Emergence, so add a Swordsoul from the deck to the hand. And then we've got the one Blackout, tribute off a worm monster, and then destroy 2 your opponent controls. Really, really important. Moving into the branded cards, 2 Fallen of the White and 1 Fallen of Albaz. You could, if you wanted to, play 3 Fallen of the White. I honestly don't think you want to or need to, but if you could, you might as well give it an option if you wanted to consider it. But the idea is that the Fallen of the White is always treated as Albaz, which is why you can't have more than a 3 spread across these 2. So it means you can't have 3 Fallen of the White and 3 Albaz. You have to have either 1 Fallen and 2 Albaz, or 1 Albaz, 2 Fallen, you name it. So the Fallen of White is, if it is in the hand, you get to send a monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz from the extra deck to the graveyard, special summon this card. You can't special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except level 8 Fusion or Synchros. And if this card is normal or special, you get to special summon an Ecclesia monster from the hand, deck, or grave. Only use each effect once per turn, and that's how you're going to be able to get access to your incredible Ecclesia. And the idea is that you don't need to tree it off at that point. That is your tuner to go into Ecclesia the Darkness Dragon. And you'll see this all in the combo, but the idea is then your Darkness Dragon starts to loop you around. You're setting yourself up with worms and Swordsoul and everything else in between. Then another bigger bridge for the deck as well is playing 3 Branded in High Spirits. So you reveal 1 monster from the hand, and you send a level 8 fusion monster from the extra deck to the graveyard with the same type that that has 2,500 or attack or defense. Then you get to apply the effect. Discard the revealed monster, and if you do, you add Fallen of Albaz or a monster that mentions it from the deck to the hand. So that's how you can increase your consistency to get to the Albaz Fallen in White. During the end phase, if a fusion monster was sent to the graveyard this turn, you get to add this card back from the grave to the hand, so you always regain your discard. But remember, you can only use 1 Branded in High Spirits effect per turn, and only once that turn. So very, very important that you don't get caught out and try to use both effects in the same turn, because you will get a slap on the wrist. And then for the hand interactions, breakers and everything else in between, which is what makes this version quite good, is it actually minimizes the Tenyis, or doesn't even use any Tenyis, but then opens up to play a lot of non-engine while you've got your consistency factors right here at about 50% of the deck. So I've decided to go with 2 Nibirus, 3 Perulias, 2 Ghost Spells, 3 Ash Blossoms, triple Infinite Impermanence, and a single Call by the Grave. And then for the breakers, I've gone with 3 Fallen of the Virtuous. This card's just absolutely crazy in this deck because it can also start to utilize the second effect that not a lot of people do rely on nowadays. So if you have an Ecclesia monster in your field or grave, you target a monster in either grave and special summon it to your field, which you will do very easily in this build. And then the final 2 cards I play is 2 Forbidden Droplet, just another form of a field breaker. And I just like the idea of activate Fallen of the Virtuous, they chain something, I go cool, chain Forbidden Droplet, send a Fallen of the Virtuous, and we're able to play around a little bit more. So that's it for the entire main deck right now. And like I said, what I like about this is that it maintains the essence of Swordsoul. You'll see that in the combo at the end, just how the 2 come together, and I'll go through that very, very shortly. So moving on to the extra deck. For our synchros, we are on 2 Swordsoul Grandmaster Yugioh. Now remember, this one does specifically require a non-tuner worm monster, so it's not generic, but it does give you a couple of different options should you need to, and this is the one you're going to want to be making as your first go-to, because then you get to add access to Blackout or Emergence if you wanted to, and go down that route. For the other Swordsouls, we are on the 1 Chengying as your level 10 powerhouse boss monster, and then we've got the Quinlan, and this one is going to be there as your disruptor, because constantly being able to either banish and burn, and the time you've made this as well, you can already burn your opponent down to by 3,600 life points, you can make it very awkward for them to try and navigate. Then we've got the 1 Baxia. Now again, Baxia is quite important in comparison as well with your Grandmaster Yugioh, as it does require a non-worm tuner, which what this means is that you can't go for your Ecclesia, Fallen in White play with the Ecclesia and then go, cool, I'm going to make Baxia or I'm going to make Yugioh. Can't be done. You have to make some of your other level 8s, and the other level 8s that you can consider to make more times than not will be Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon. And another option you could play is Tenyi the Berserker, but I've decided to go with the Tenyi Spirit Mula Adhara, and this is mainly going to be coming for the side deck, just because of how Radiants are running around right now. What I like about playing this card is if this card is synchro summoned, and there are 2 or more worms that are in the grave or banished, which by a certain point you should be able to do so, because remember your Tire will send 1 from deck to grave, so you would go out of your way to specifically make that happen. This could then search out any field spell in the game, and when you are playing cards like your Ecclesia, the Darkest Dragon, and other monsters that are strong spellcasters, you can go for a Secret Village, and I think that's very, very powerful in this current format. The other synchro monster that we play is the Despian Lulu Walif, so this can either be summoned off of the back of the Grand Grignol, and don't worry, before you go, where's Blazing Cartasia, you don't actually ever summon this. The idea is that it's a bridge because it's a spellcaster that you could be revealing off the full the Branded in High Spirits, but then you can still use its graveyard effect to get you out your Despian Lulu Walith, or you can actually just hard synchro out your Despian Lulu Walith, whichever kind of fits your fancy. Speaking of our branded monsters, we are on 2 Mirror Jade. One is a bridge, because this is the card you would send. The other one, because it lists Fallen of Albaz and everything else, the other one is actually something you can very easily summon off of the back of your Fallen of Albaz. Entirely up to you. Then we've got the Grand Grignol, already mentioned that this is one of your bridges. We've then got Titaniclad, the Ashen Dragon, Albion, the Branded Dragon. You know, send it off of Fallen, the Fallen the Virtuous, and that will get you everything you need to. And then we do have the one Rimbram, the Striking Dragon. And then we also finish this up with the one, the Dragon that Devours the Dogma, because considering this, you also get to use it with both effects. And let me just grab the dog as it disrupts our recording. Do you mind, my dear? No? Okay. I'm going to try and finish this as you try and... You just knocked off my microphone. Mwah. So, getting back to it, apologies, dog wanted attention. Yeah, so we can actually play the Dragon that Devours the Dogma, and then you can set this up by having Ecclesia on the field or grave, gives it its full protection. So it gains 500 attack, and it is unaffected by other card effects, means that it's a 3500 boss monster that your opponent can really struggle to deal with. So that's it for the entire main deck and the extra deck. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that very basic 1-card combo to give you everything you need for this build. So we'll be back in a second. Here's the very basic 1-card combo. Now, it can be adaptive. You can change your stuff to it. We don't even need to use our normal summon on this one. So if you have a normal summon, you just add Moyi into place of it as well. And then you get a draw 1 and another Synchro level 8. And that's how you can work your way into the Mula Adhara. It's also how you can add more to the field as well. So you're going to start off by using the Fallen of the White's hand effect to send a Mirror Jade from the extra deck to the graveyard, which is why you're also going to play 2 of this. Because remember, Mirror Jade is actually a worm, which is going to come up with Tyre. So you special summon down the Fallen of the White. This will then allow you to special summon out your Incredible Ecclesia directly from the deck. Now you can use Incredible Ecclesia's effect here to tribute it off and special summon out Tyre. That's entirely up to you if you wanted to, and depending on what else you have in your hand and how cautious you want to be. But the idea is that we're just going to use this as our tuner and of course our Fallen of the White to synchro into our Ecclesia the Dark Dragon. It's actually quite important we get this in rotation as it gives us another disruption during our opponent's turn and actually threatens the ability to use Fallen of Albaz to then fuse with one of our opponent's monsters and go either into an Albion or more commonly go into a Mirror Jade. But then you do also open the door because you still also play Rimbram and of course you also play Titaniclad, so you've got more options available to you. So we're going to use the effect of the Ecclesia the Darkness Dragon, then during the main phase quick effect, banish it until the end phase, and if you do, special summon a Fallen of Albaz or a level 4 or lower monster that mentions it from the deck or graveyard. So we're going to banish this. You could summon back the Incredible Ecclesia from the graveyard, that's absolutely fine, but you might as well deck fin one more level. So we're actually going to go into our Incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous. We're now going to use the Incredible Ecclesia's Virtuous effect to tribute it off to special summon a Swordsoul or a Fallen of Albaz from the deck, and we're going to want to summon out our Tyre. We're going to use Tyre's effect to banish a worm from the graveyard, being our Mirror Jade, and that's then going to allow us to spawn a Swordsoul token. Now you're going to be able to use the Swordsoul token, which is a tuner, with your Tyre, and you're going to be able to synchro into your Swordsoul Grandmaster Yugioh. You're going to be able to go Chainlink 1 Yugioh, Chainlink 2 Tyre. Tyre will send the golden Swordsoul from the deck to the graveyard, and your Grandmaster Yugioh has a couple of different options depending on what else you have access to. Emergence can get you your Moyi to normal summon it, and if you've got a reveal in the hand, you can reveal that and draw a card. Well, spawn a token, sync it off, then draw a card. But in this one, just to keep it very, very simple, very, very basic, we're going to go with just grabbing the Swordsoul Blackout. So then as you move to your end phase, you set your Swordsoul Blackout, your Ecclesia, the Dark, and the Dark Dragon come back to the field. This now gives you the ability to banish it, and this will then give you access to grab hold of a Fallen of Albaz. In addition to that, because a fusion monster was sent to our graveyard, being the Mirror Jade, we actually get to add the Incredible Ecclesia back to our hand. So now what we have is during our opponent's turn, we've got the Yugioh to banish from the graveyard to negate. We've got the Blackout to then tribute off our Swordsoul Chenye if we want to. We've also got the ability of our Incredible Ecclesia to tag itself out. If that wasn't enough, we also have the ability of the Golden Swordsoul in the graveyard that if a monster is banished face up, being the Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon, you actually get to special summon a light spellcaster from the hand or grave whose attack equals its own defense. So in doing so, you're going to be able to bring back your additional cards. So this is where you're going to be able to work its own way back into that second Ecclesia that is stuck in your graveyard, or technically strategically placed in your graveyard. So in theory, what you'd do is you'd banish this. This could then force out going into a Fallen of the Albaz, wherever it may be. It could go into the Fallen of the White, but we're just going to go for good old-fashioned Fallen of Albaz. Fallen of Albaz can then be able to go Chainlink 1 here, and you can go Swordsoul, Golden Swordsoul, Chainlink 2. In doing so, your Albaz would then resolve by discarding your Incredible Ecclesia. In an ideal world, you're going to be able to contact fuse with your opponent's monster and work your way into a Mirror Jade. Then you're going to get the ability of the Golden Swordsoul, which would have resolved prior to that, to get you access to your Incredible Ecclesia, which hasn't used its effect yet, so keep that in mind. So that if you want to use Blackout to destroy something else, you can do, but you can also destroy your own Mirror Jade, and you've also got your Yugioh. So this then opens up the door that could be another route to get you to Albaz if they did stop your Incredible Ecclesia. As long as it banishes itself, you're good to go. And then you've also got the ability that should you need to, you can tribute this off and special summon out any of your other Sword Souls, which can of course be Tyre if you wanted to. Or you're probably going to go for Moyi. But keeping in mind, it really comes down to what else you have access to in your hand, and you'll still be in a very decent position. So that's just a very basic disruption play. Like I said, if you want to go for the Secret Village play, you would have worked that way into it, and then you probably would have kept the Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon on the field. And it gives you a lot more flexibility to do so as and when you see fit. So that's pretty much it for the entire profile and the combo. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them as always. But for now, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.